right. Well. Look who's here. We got some industry personalities and pundits on the call. They're already drinking, so
geniuses.
Right.
They just the one degenerate is drinking.
You don't know what's in my mug.
Yeah, we do. Come on.
This is vodka, really, but no,
vodka.
Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to the HR Pod Squad. Haven't done one of these in a long time. I think 2019, so it was long overdue, and wanted to dial up some of my HR tech friends here and talk shop since we haven't been able to see each other in person in real life. And so we got some topics today we'll go through, and hopefully we'll have a nice, interesting discussion for the audience and talk shop.
Did anyone get the topics ahead of time?
Yeah, I emailed them to you.
Oh, I didn't.
They're in the invite.
Okay.
I'm
I'm gonna
Joel,
roll,
we all
baby.
appreciate
Let's do
your,
this.
yeah, we appreciate
You're up first. You're up first.
I'll be down here muted drinking.
I expect no less. Okay. If you're in the chat there, feel free to say hello. Derek Zeller's here, Michael Yinger, Ward Chris.
What's up, Derek? What's up, Mike?
We got about 14 people
Mr.
live
Ward?
so far, so people are coming in as we speak. Well, first of all, thanks everybody for joining me. Rec Tech Media, I'm Chris Russell. We got Madeline Laurano there from Aptitude Research, of course, Joel Cheesman, Chad and Cheese, and the best dressed man in HR Tech, Andrew Gadomski from Aspen Analytics. So how are you guys? It's great to see you all.
It's good. I should have wore a sport jacket.
I feel a little left out. I don't have the microphone.
Football season.
I'm wearing a brand new wrinkled shirt from Amazon right out of the box.
I'm now realizing that there are people who are seeing me for the first time ever, like in like a golf shirt.
Your civvies, yeah.
What's he normally wear?
He wears like a
The
suit.
suit. Yeah.
Suit and tie.
suit.
Right.
He's styling,
What's that?
man. You never
Suit.
seen him in person?
You
He's
know,
styling. So
never goes out of style.
yeah. Awesome. Well, let's get into topics. So HR Tech, who's going to Vegas next month? That'll be me. 3 out of 4. All right. What are you guys expecting? I'm expecting a pretty sparse turnout, but I need to go see people.
It's an all-vax conference.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
vaxxed.
All vax all the time. And masked in public spaces.
Yeah, that's going to be weird.
Which I can tell you at least 2 or 3 CEOs that are vendors exhibiting aren't real happy about the vaccine mandate.
Oh, interesting.
Hmm.
So from what I understand, the casinos are not, you don't have to wear a mask in the casino, but you have to wear a mask in the actual event. Is that
Oh,
correct?
is that right?
I think.
That's interesting.
That's what,
But in the
that's what Sackett said.
I think you don't get. I don't think you get a badge unless you're vaxxed, unless you
Yeah.
can prove.
If you can prove, you have to show proof.
Yeah.
And Mandalay Bay has a public spaces mandate for the mask. So that includes the expo hall, that includes the lounge areas and those types of things. And I've already caught some people saying, doesn't matter, I'm going. And I got, for every person I've heard, doesn't matter, I'm going, I've heard someone say, okay, I'm not sure I'm going to go now.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Is anyone else thinking about dinners? Am I the only one like focused on, are people going to eat inside, or do we need to find and book all these outside restaurants for dinners?
If you're a vendor and buying dinner, like, hit me up. I've already got one.
Yeah, by the
spot
way, I'll
filled.
be there if you're a vendor. I love free dinner. So
We love dinners. We'll eat inside, outside.
We're all total whores in the
That
podcast.
actually, that's kind of fascinating because, Yinger's on. And so he and I have got this annual thing where he and I would typically go and have dinner for the whole evening and wine and everything else. And it's like, okay, can you get the reservations? Number one, because they're going to be doing more spacing. So there's not as many people who they can push into inside the restaurants. And then, not that it's super hot, but, it's still going to be early fall in Vegas. I'm not sure how much outside eating you want to do when it's like 82.
yeah, it's going to be in the mid 90s.
Yeah,
90.
it can be windy too.
Although it's going to beat my last trip to Vegas, which was shout out to Doug Berg when he was running Zap Info. It was in February. It was for like the HR Tech had like a mini conference over there, and it snowed down.
I have it on good source that Doug Berg is listening to this on a stack of dollar bills, maybe 20s. I don't know. Doug,
Did you see
Doug's
his new
doing all
Bronco?
right.
It's the Indeed blue color. So
Doug's okay. Doug's okay.
but he had
Hey,
he invited me to the Top Golf that week, and it snowed that week.
Is there
So
one
we
in
got to
Vegas?
Topgolf.
Oh yeah, it's next to the MGM.
February of 2019, I think. And then we got to Topgolf, and it started blizzarding in Vegas at Topgolf. So we just played golf in the snow for like 2
I remember
hours.
that event.
Me,
Yes.
Jim Snyder, Doug and his wife, and somebody else was there, I forget.
Is blizzarding the correct usage of that word?
Blizzarding. What do you call it?
Yeah, we got to be careful about using the word blizzarding.
Conditions.
I think that's.
I don't know if
I think
that's
that
an
word's been
East
canceled.
Coast thing or.
Nice.
Hey, it's blizzarding over here. Eh? Yeah.
Well, I saw the map for HR Tech, and it seemed pretty full. I mean, all the usual suspects had
Vendors can't wait.
Yeah, the vendors
Yeah,
are gone.
Vendors can't wait. Now the buyers, I don't know, but vendors, partnerships and parties and they'll be there. I'm more curious about the attendees.
It's going to be a V2V event, vendor to vendor, I think.
Well, and some of it has to also do with. So I've gotten my hands on a handful of like the Fortune 100, like their strategies around return to work. So some of this is also they're not paying for people to go.
Right.
So they're not going to let their staff get on a plane, right? And so part of some of the so it depends on the COVID breakdown and how they're doing return to work, but a lot of them have travel advisories along with the return to work. So you have to really prove that, I have to go there, and it's like for the government. It's like being on site for a security inspection. I'm not convinced that HR Tech carries the same weight, but there are companies that say, love to have you go, but it's against our mandate right now.
Well,
and then
airlines are canceling flights because they're not expecting, vacation is going to go with with fall. Yeah. They're cutting flights because they're not expecting a lot of business travel, and that includes us.
Right.
Yeah, there's some RP. Have you heard some RPOs are paying for people to go? And I think they're even struggling to find people that are willing to take it. I mean, it's like free. We'll pay for your travel. We'll pay for your conference ticket. We'll host you there. And I think they're, it's a great offer. It's a great idea for RPOs to do that. I think it's brilliant.
And
so they're
what
paying
are
for
their phone numbers?
What's that?
They're paying for customers to go?
Yeah, I think they're paying for customers, maybe prospects too, but they're saying they're kind of like offering up for a certain number of people to pay for that.
I've heard the same for some of the key vendors is that they're inviting chief procurement officers, see it on our dime. We'll get you there. Get there because they need them there so they can sell the other ones.
Yeah. Jerry's saying it didn't work. Jerry. Hey, Jerry.
Hey, Jerry. And Derek, we don't know why they would let them go. We don't know why either. But
Joe's asking how they validate your vaccines. I'm bringing a card, my vaccine card.
I'm bringing my card, but I think I wonder if there's going to be an option
like you do it online
to do it online.
I think
VAM system, right?
You upload a picture or a scan of it.
Yeah.
Do you guys all use that VAM system to book your shots?
No,
it's called VAMS, VAMS. It's some kind of medical government thing that I used to book the actual appointment with. But
okay.
That's where the record of my shots are.
I just have like this cool folded up piece of paper that is in my wallet because I still have a wallet, and I just hope it doesn't
like Blockbuster video membership.
Exactly.
It's going to be our new bid. That should be the new business card. It's like I've been vaxxed on my
yeah.
Card. Yeah.
Right. You should just have it on your mask.
Yeah.
Say, I've been vaxxed on my mask.
There's like a vaccinated thing on their dating profiles, I read.
Oh, how many vendors have branded masks at the show?
I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that.
Every one of them?
Yeah. Every one of them.
Why not?
Well, what will be nice is if they were giving. I don't know. Is Gene and Company? Are they giving out masks? Are they giving everybody a mask?
I bet the Mandalay will have it. We'll have them.
The smart marketing thing would be wear our mask with our logo, and if we see you in the exhibit hall, you'll get a chance to win $100 or chips or something like. There's free marketing tip there, kids.
Yeah.
We'll give you 100 applicants if you wear our mask.
You want to
sell out HR Tech? Give away masks and applicants.
Free hires. Yeah.
Everyone will go.
Everyone will go.
Good call.
Let's move on to the next topic. Vendors going public. You'll like this one, Joel. So this year we had Paycor, I think it was, ZipRecruiter, and iCIMS. But just general thoughts.
Say Doximity?
Doximity too. Okay.
Doximity.
Doximity. So what's everyone's general thoughts on this? Give me your take.
I mean, it's exciting. It's been a while. Like, I think all of us are old enough to remember when, like, Headhunter went IPO, and Dice and Monster IPOs were a big deal, and it's just been dead. So for me, it's just exciting as a pundit to like be able to talk about companies going IPO again. And when you look at, I mean, Madeline could talk to this better than any of us, but the amount of money that's going into these companies, like there's nowhere to go but the public market. So
right.
To me, iCIMS is sort of the first big domino of the whole platform to go. ZipRecruiter was kind of an obvious one. Doximity, physician, LinkedIn for physicians is really interesting. I like to see more sites like that, but I can't wait for iCIMS to see what happens, and JobVite and Greenhouse, and like it's just going to be a parade of IPOs. And it'll be fun to talk about. Now, whether or not they're successful, we could argue. I mean, Workday is doing pretty well, and if that's the model for everyone else, I think it's going to be positive. I don't think there are going to be any bombs in there. There aren't any. There aren't any
Facebooks. About iCIMS on the
but
show, you said that they're in a lot of debt, though.
Yeah, I mean, according to I think it was Seeking Alpha article from an analyst. I mean, like they're raising $100 million, which isn't a ton of money. I thought that was interesting, but they owe like $700 million. They're like 700 in debt. So
such a shift, right, for them, for being such a profitable company for so long to now being in debt. I saw that article too. I think,
or they're just following everyone else.
Yeah,
let's jump in. The water's warm.
We want more.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's positive too, though. I mean, I think that it is the only place for them to go, right, Joel? It's like no one's going to acquire them at this point. Like that's
too big.
That's what they're trying to do. So to be able to do it, I think the scary thing when you make the announcement is what happens until it actually happens. And are there any missteps, or does anything go wrong where it might not happen? And we've seen like that happen with a couple of company, Workhuman, a couple others where.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like from Madeline's standpoint, for sure is, I mean, if these are duds, the money's going to dry up big time. I mean, vice versa, but I don't expect iCIMS to set the world on fire. I don't expect any ATS to do that. So it'll be interesting if the money dries up. It'll be less exciting.
The ATS
what I like about it
so competitive. I mean.
Yeah. What I like about it the most is that it changes the liquidity for the talent pools who are in these companies. So when you're a public company, so we've got all these companies in HR tech that are they're invested, they're funded, but their liquidity is banking on the exit, or it's banking on the next round and all those other things. Meanwhile, we don't have a lot of developers, leaders, managers, frontline supervisors who just have liquidity because they have stock and they're shareholders and it's public. And so now what we've got like an iCIMS. I mean, it's not a juggernaut, but they have a different way to retain talent, and they have a different way to attract talent versus their competitors. Okay, aren't like 700 public companies in the HR tech space, but that's a real value add. And then the other thing that I think is interesting, especially for iCIMS, is, well, they now need to go ahead and put their SEC disclosures in place for human capital analytics. They're probably the best suited to lead in that part of the human capital analytics space now, because they're the only ones, or one of the few, Workday too, that have to say, this is what we do with human capital. So for them, they'll just create a product for themselves, and then they'll turn it over to X hundreds of companies and say, oh, by the way, we can do that for you too.
That's what's really fascinating about these IPOs, is that we now have access into sort of the inner workings of these companies. Like with the ZipRecruiter one, I read that prospectus, and that was just a gold mine of information about how that company actually operates and how successful they are or are not, right? I think that was fascinating to read that thing. I mean, you could really read between the lines with some of the data that was in there.
What's the over-under on a number of months that Susan Vitale sticks around after getting rich on this iPhone?
I hope she already did get that.
6.5.
I hope she already did. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You know what? I hope you know what I hope she does. I hope she teaches. I'd love to see her teach. I think that there's only a handful of people who are in our industry with that kind of longevity and know where the bodies are buried and have stayed in a place. I'd love to see her go and get academic and start teaching HR operations people. This is what tech is about in HR. That'd be fascinating.
Yeah. Or start our own company doing that. Yeah.
So is going public good for customers, guys? What do you think about that? Because I think that if you look back at history, like a monster stock, they basically turned their whole company over to shareholders and thought nothing about except about set profits over their user base. That's a big reason why they stumbled in the.
If Jeff Bezos is running the ship, I say it's a good thing for customers. If Sal Iannuzzi's running the company, I'd say it's a shitty thing for customers and shareholders. Yeah. The answer is I don't know if you can say like everybody's the same. These companies are dynamic. They're all their own living thing. I mean, it should be good. It should mean more money. It should mean more, resources to go into R&D and buying other companies that help you grow. But like we saw with Monster, it was just like, let's engineer this thing to make it as profitable as possible for shareholders and then get the fuck out. And, we saw how that ended.
That's the danger.
Yeah. I think the partner piece is going to be very interesting. I mean, iSIMS has built up quite a marketplace, a big ecosystem. I mean, if you talk to any of the partners just in TA, that's the best ATS to work with for most of them. They're just great to work with. They're a great partner. How does that change for these partners that now are going to be operating under a very different type of model with a lot more transparency that they might not be as comfortable with?
Yeah,
I would feel better if Colin Day was still running the ship.
Yeah,
the private equity angle scares the shit out of me if I were an employee, customer, or shareholder.
There's, and Joel, you kind of mentioned it earlier, but there's pressure when you move into the public space to go after earnings real fast. And so that might change their development, that might change their product. I think what that actually does is it might put a company in a position to really ask the customer, look, we want to keep you around. How can we be more nimble early on and do some development? But what's interesting is that it also forces them to have that longer term vision and make that a very public statement. So they've got to come up with, this is what we're going to do over the last 5 years or the next 5 years. And all of a sudden, they're not just talking to the four of us. They're sitting down with Morgan Stanley. They're sitting down with State Street. It's a little bit of a different game when you're in those meetings and you're listening to these technologies and they're talking 5-year vision, they're talking strategic acquisitions. I like that for their customers because it could give their customers a better roadmap.
If that's where it goes, but if it becomes a quarterly, sprint, and how are we going to make the numbers every quarter, then it's not a long-term game. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen both ends of that spectrum.
That's right.
I would say more default toward the how do we make our quarterly numbers?
How do we make earnings? Yeah.
Than it is what are we going to be in 5 years?
Shareholders.
Maybe that's in Amazon's case it's a penis rocket. But some people are excited about space.
Look, hey, I'm a fan of some of the bigger juggernauts that have gone public. I mean, look, Workday is powering Phil Mickelson, and that's cool.
I mean, historically, would we agree iSIMS is not a technological juggernaut of innovation?
Right.
No, there were 20.
We agree with that, right? So I don't know. I don't see that changing.
Yeah. Do you think they will go into talent management to make those numbers that they'll need to make? Do you think they'll go outside of TA and start selling?
I think they'll make acquisitions. Yeah. They've made some smart acquisitions, and I think they'll continue to do that. I think TextRecruit was a great acquisition. I think Opening.io.
Love me some TextRecruit. Love me some Altru.
Altru's great. Yeah. TextRecruit was brilliant.
Yeah. So they can buy companies. They've done a good job of that.
Well, I think the other thing is it also makes it easier for them to do strategic acquisitions that are outside the U.S. market when you're traded like this. And so they can jump in and just start doing M&A in other places with other public companies on other exchanges, that's harder for a private company. And so, okay, so my hope is if they're not going to be a juggernaut and if they're not going to do talent management, and oh, by the way, Madeline, I think they will. I think that's a natural extension for them. They have to buy it. To make it would be ridiculous. They should just buy it, and they should buy it in a couple of different markets.
Yeah. Yeah, and to Joel's point too, they're not this juggernaut of innovation to be able to do that themselves.
So ZipRecruiter went out, I think, at 25. What was their stock price, Joel?
I think it was 20.
20. Okay, 20. So what's the prediction on iSim's stock price at IPO?
In terms of how it performs or what it comes out?
How much it's going to come out at? Yeah, I would say lower than iSim.
100 million.
Lower than Zip.
Yeah.
How many
I
shares?
would say 17 or 15, something like that.
Yeah, it'll be lower, and then the model's different. It's not a consumer model; it's a corporate model.
Right.
You know, so it's
not like a lot of.
Well,
they need. If they market it as like we're the next Workday, I think it'll be really interesting. And if they can sell that, they like ZipRecruiter's pitch was, we're enterprise, we're AI, right? They got us far away from we're the bartender who needs, or we're not the bar owner that needs the server. So that pitch, I think they've had a hard time doing. I think iSims has a better chance of saying we're another Workday, or we're a Workday option, that we're in that category. Like, that's good. Workday has been really successful. So if they can pull that off, I think it'll be a good opening.
Yeah.
Well, and what a storyline that is for them, just to say, and we work with Workday real well.
Yeah.
I mean, I got plenty of customers. They got iSims, they got Workday, and that's it. And thanks for coming. And we make it work. And by the way, they're both enterprise. They got 40, 50 countries each. Like, all those companies are doing the exact same model. And if they go with that model, we are a global talent tech.
Sure.
And we're not Workday, which has a crappy ATS.
Yeah.
It'll change it'll have to change how they talk about Workday.
It'll also be interesting as on the topic, if iSims does really well, does that inspire a bigger fish to gobble up a Greenhouse or another, like a la Recruit buying Glassdoor before they went public? Like, somebody said we should just get these guys. So if iSims does well, does a bigger fish come in and get a Greenhouse or JobVite or somebody like that?
Yeah, does it speed that up and say that you don't have a lot of time? There's only a couple of providers to do this. Yeah, I think I don't know. I think it's a good situation for the other ATS providers. This iSim's going public because they're now,
if it goes well,
possible. Yeah,
if it goes well.
If it goes well. Yeah,
well,
I think you could look at this as a model.
Yeah, I could see companies that are bigger and badder in the HR services space, ADP, Paychex, right? And they come in and say, all right, we got a lot of customers. Why don't we go grab a lever? Why don't we go grab Greenhouse?
Yeah.
And we'll just wipe the slate clean with our whatever we got that's weak and just say, boom. Okay, that's interesting. If iSims does well, if the market responds well to the public concept, I could see that kind of acquisition happen. That's an interesting out, by the way, for those types of companies.
Absolutely.
So what happens going downstream from the ATSs? The the one platform to rule them all wannabes, the Seekouts, the Paradoxes. What
they're the ecosystem now for these bigger companies, because
they want to be
bought up
right?
left and right by everybody. So it's like
they want to. Seekout wants to be a platform. They don't want to be an add-on to Greenhouse. They want you to live in Seekout. I don't know if they're succeeding. Maybe you guys can speak to that better than I can.
It's too early to tell, I think.
Wow.
That's like Eightfold. Like Eightfold kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
This is part of that unicorn discussion you wanted to have.
I know.
Yeah.
It's almost like there's two different areas of TA tech happening right now that are both getting a lot of funding or getting a lot of change happening. It's like the traditional systems like the ATS or the CRMs that are like, they're designed for like a head of talent acquisition, like head of HR. And then there's like systems designed for recruiters where a recruiter could potentially live and spend all their time in, like Seek Out, like HiredScore. Like, could a recruiter spend all their time in these systems because they're familiar with them? They actually are finding candidates here. They can kind of work within this workflow. And it seems like there's just two, one is where like the head of TA is going to spend money because that's where they always do. And the other is where recruiters spend their time.
And people just like ice cream, right? So that's the other thing. I'm not so, there's a lot of flavors, but in general, we like ice cream. Right. So there's something for somebody. And people say, which one should I get? For talent intelligence, people say, what one should I get? I say, get 3. They're like, you can't be serious. I'm like, absolutely, every single one of our customers, 3 or more. They're like, why? I said, because you're so big. None of them have been designed for you. None of them. Seek Out, Hire Tool, MZ, doesn't matter. No one has designed for, oh yeah, we'll staff in 40 different countries where we're having trouble getting applicants. You have to have multiple systems. A lot of these tools that are like the Hire Tools and Seek Out, they're designed for SMB or an enterprise within a lane. And that's why they're being so successful, because people are getting candidates and they're turning them over. But the enterprise customers, I just tell them, yeah, get 2 or 3. And then if you don't like what you see, toss it out on the renewal and get another one.
So because you 3 are here, I want to ask the chatbot thing. There seems to be an apex predator, which I'm going to call Paradox. Everyone else sort of is gone. Yeah. Is the chatbot thing oversold? Is it overhyped? Because
you mean conversational AI, Joel?
That's right.
Sorry, conversational AI. Slap my wrist. I'm getting a text from Aaron right now.
AKA Fancy Python.
I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that, because Paradox is going somewhere. They're going to announce a large amount of money being raised, and they're going to have to go IPO or get gobbled up by a really big fish. Were you surprised to see all the others not announce another round of funding, that they all got sold for an undisclosed amount? Mm-hmm. Yeah. That surprised me. You surprised everyone here too?
Surprised me too. I mean, Alio didn't surprise me, to be honest with you, because I think I like the Alio product. I think they just couldn't. I think they raised a lot of money really quickly, and I think it was a leadership just challenge, and they made a decision that was best for them, and that was the right thing to do for them.
I like the decision they made because they raised so much money.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just took on too much. I mean, you can only breathe in so much oxygen until you asphyxiate. Right. So I think Paradox looks like they've got good they've surrounded the top with better management in the last few years. I like those moves. Yep. Yeah. They're going strong after the places that you don't normally go to for ATSs. A lot of automation in the hospitality industry, et cetera. And so I think that they're well positioned, and they're the last dog standing.
Yeah, and it's
still for high volume employers.
There, like, there's tremendous potential with Paradox that the others had too. They just didn't have Aaron, and then they didn't have this commitment he made, which is like to go, and to stay with it for the long haul. And they saw a quick out. And it's interesting because it's like what Paradox is doing is like building everything, right? Like everything TA, talent management, and the others got acquired by different areas, which make tons of sense. Like, to think about Maya with Stepstone, that makes sense. To think about, Wade and Wendy with Paradox, that makes so much sense. That's great for Pandalogic. And then to think about Alio with HireVue, but the potential stops, kind of where that is. I don't know. I mean, or we'll see.
Don't forget Zor.
Zor.
My favorite. It's my favorite Toy Story villain.
Who's the Aussie company?
And Talk Push. Yeah. Right? Is that?
TalkPush just launched Instagram chat, baby. Come on now.
Well, I mean,
someone's going to buy them because they're everywhere.
There's
outside
someone
the US.
we did a firing squad with someone out of Australia. I'm forgetting the name. It's like something intelligence.
Oh, predictive hire.
Yes.
yeah.
I liked what they had to say.
I love predictive hire.
They're coming to America.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes.
By the way, Paradox might just blast because they're like the only conversational AI that doesn't end in a vowel. So Jason Roberts and I have a theory that it's their name that's actually sustaining them early on, because it was like Maya, Alio.
So you're
like
saying the switch from Olivia to Paradox was
right. As soon as they made the switch and they ended in an X, all branding.
It's a keen insight there.
Andrew. Yeah, that could be it.
Right.
I digress. Sorry, guys.
And Jerry's
Jerry.
career crossroads. X in the middle.
There you go.
There you go.
Well, just staying on this topic of
Who has
finance.
a career crossroads book from the 90s?
Me.
Yes. There you go.
I could pull it out right now if you want.
I got original
right
Lou Adler audio discs. How about that? And they're
came in the
still
mail with
sealed. I haven't opened them. They're still
Cassettes
sealed.
or CDs.
Oh shit. Lou Adler.
So I wrote a post back in, I think it was April on RecTech Media, where I counted up the number of funding rounds of $100 million or more. When I wrote it, I think I had like 17 or 18 in there. Since then, in the last like 2-3 months, we had like 8 more. So that's why I call this the golden age of HR tech. But I don't think all these companies are worth that much money. But what say you guys?
There's a lot of.
Remember
couple
when
of them might be.
Jobster getting $70 million was insane?
Investors are like so
Huge
hyped up
deal.
on hiring tech right now. It's crazy.
JobServe was going to change the world.
So were all these companies.
I know.
Jerry's probably saying,
out.
I've seen this movie
before.
before, and I know how it ends.
I swear, some of I was going through these the other day, and I kind of felt like maybe it was my haircut. I totally felt like Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank, and like this valuation is crazy. It's like this is crazy town. But 1 out of 8 will make it. The others won't, and that's okay. It's the game. That's the game.
Did you just pull 1 out of 8 out of your ass, or was
of course, but I said it with conviction.
Okay.
And so that's why people trust it. They're like, oh, he's a data analyst. He's got some statistic. It's all about conviction. 1 out of 8.
I don't think
10.
it ends well.
Yeah.
I agree.
I agree too.
It's so much money.
There's just not enough
What's
clients.
the old adage?
All
Like
make,
companies,
Yeah.
companies.
And some of these are not mature companies. Like it takes
Right.
a lot to know what to do with that money and how to grow or find your exit with that type of investment. And if you're just, new to the space or excited and kind of new to technology in general, what do you do?
I think was it Mark Andreessen who said companies don't fail because they don't have enough money. They fail because they have too much money.
Right.
And
Too much
that I see that unfolding over the next 12 months.
And guess what? Now all of a sudden the biggest competitor in HR tech is Microsoft and Google again. So now what we've got is all these little widgets that are showing up in all these ecosystems that we're using to communicate. Hold my calls. Joel's taking a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
But companies are just saying, well, I don't need to have this. I can just do it in Teams.
Yeah.
And it's not small companies making those moves. They're just saying we'll just last without because we've had to get gritty.
Microsoft more than Google, though, Andrew. I think Google.
Microsoft more than Google, but
pulled back on a lot of stuff, so they got rid of their ATS, and I don't know if their heart's into Google for Jobs overall, but
well, I'm just talking about people.
Google for Hire.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that, Madeline?
They're not going to bring back Google Hire.
We all had a moment of silence.
We all had a moment of silence.
That
We
was
all wrote a blog
2017.
post. We all wrote a good blog post about that.
I thought that year they came into the market, 2017. They were at HR Tech, the one other time they've ever been at HR Tech, by the way. And to me, that was kind of a turning point for the entire industry overall. Because once Google got into the market, so did everybody else, and all the all the startups and investors came calling. So,
are we talking about Google for Jobs?
Yeah. Hire. Yeah.
Oh, hire.
Google for Jobs is like link bait on steroids. You start talking about that or write about it.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, Chris. That's probably very true. That's when the attention started to shift.
Yeah,
because I've been advising job boards for 10 plus years, and as soon as that Google stuff hit, I mean, my consulting business doubled again since that time. So
for optimization stuff or what?
Just everything, yeah. All kinds of interesting people starting job boards, getting into the job market, marketplaces, all that stuff. It's
good to be a job board now.
Yeah, I mean, employers are putting money into job boards still. Marketplace is getting a lot of funding as well. WayUp just got bought. That was a strange deal, I thought. What do you guys think about that? Because they were bought by essentially a tool, and tools don't usually buy marketplaces. So that was kind of a first for the industry, I thought. But
I can't keep up. I couldn't keep up with WayUp. On the third reinvention, I kind of stopped paying attention.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because they have changed their messaging. Like first, I think they called Campus Job at first. That was a client of theirs back in 2015 when I was working for a cruise line, and they were great. I got like 100 candidates overnight when I first used their service. I thought it was awesome. Then they changed the name to WayUp, and they were early career. That was their their niche, and now they're early career for diversity. So they've
they did that right before the acquisition. That change was made right before the acquisition.
It's funny how everyone's all these vendors are really just throwing diversity on their name now, and trying to get a piece of that. Some of it's not really diversity stuff. It's just a small feature.
Using it.
But that's a little shady sometimes. If you look at
see the Terry Baker comment, it's about talent communities, not job boards.
Job boards.
That's so Terry.
My God.
Yeah, but I think that's true. I think that anytime the investor sees AI or diversity, equity, and inclusion as part of the marketing of these vendors, that's where they're putting money in. And I think that it does seem shady sometimes when you see a vendor switch their messaging and then all of a sudden get a huge round.
I tell vendors all the time, you got to dumb it down for these recruiters because they understand simple. Don't throw AI at them. Throw how you're going to solve their problem.
But if they have an initiative to use more AI products, which a lot of them do, and especially diversity.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen companies throw in DEI that have nothing, literally nothing. And you ask them what is it about your product that's DEI? And they can't answer, but it's on the damn website. So someone can say see, we bought some DEI stuff.
So why does that happen? So public company, the corporate structure has made mandates to go ahead and have all leadership have diversity and inclusion initiatives that are new. So for HR, what's interesting is it's tough to say you haven't been doing diversity. So an easy way to go ahead and say, ICHRO have gone ahead and advanced it even more than we already did was through an acquisition of tech. And so that placates now, that fuels the HR tech space to say, we have a D&I solution, right? Because there isn't a CHRO in a public company right now that's going to say, we've had no diversity plan ever. They always have had something. But now the finance organization, procurement organization, supply chain, everybody else has got a plan. And HR has to do something. So they're buying tech.
Or if you're Circa, you just buy diversityjobs.com.
There you go.
Remember when that was diversity?
That was the OG.
We're on diversityjobs.com. So we are diverse recruiting.
So let's see here. What's awesome about this? So 10 million job openings, I think, is the new record number, guys.
10 million?
Something like that. That's what
million.
From each of you, give me one thing employers should be doing to attract talent that they're not doing today, because they're all having problems here filling those jobs. But what's one thing you would say to them right now if you had to?
What should they do to fill positions?
What do they do? What should they be doing they're not doing now to fill these roles?
Pay more money.
Yeah. So he okay.
We overthink this shit. Like, pay people more money.
Yeah. Terry says the same thing. Yep.
Yeah. So I won't say that. I think it's right. I'm going to say, because it's right, pay more. I do think that we need more of a choose your own adventure. We haven't asked the candidate, how do you want to work? We keep this concept of, you're going to show up and do exactly as we say in our cool little job description and all the things. Instead, it should be, you're going to come here, tell us the hours you want to work, tell us how you want to be developed, and tell us what you want next. We'll make it happen. If you started having that kind of a shift and you get public enough, okay, more referrals will come in, maybe more candidates will come in. But but at the same time, if you think you're CVS and you're going to get the Walgreens candidates to come over, well, you're going to do it because you pay 75 cents more an hour. Yeah. That's how you're going to do it. Unless you tell them, I'll pay you the same, but pick your own hours. 20 hours, 40 hours, we don't care. You want overtime? We'll give it to you. They have to do stuff like that.
Have you guys seen do you guys know the convenience store Buc-ee's?
Yeah.
And what they do to attract talent? They have.
I know how they attract customers.
Well, they have hiring signs in their stores, and all the salaries are listed, and they pay like, I don't know, $2, $3, $4 more than the typical retailer does, and they're kind of famous for like just paying better wages, and they have lower turnover. So they're good.
How that works?
Wow. Wow. Brilliant.
I heard that a lot of hourly companies now are paying people to just come in for an interview. Like, we'll give you $100 if you just come in for an interview.
Yeah, there was one restaurant, they put out a press release. They called it Dinner Views, and they gave you free dinner.
Meal.
Well, my favorite was a franchisee of McDonald's in Florida was giving $50 to come in an interview, and Wendy's was giving away breakfast sandwiches. So you tell me you have the advantage on that one.
Well, I'm going to get my breakfast sandwich, and then I'm going to go over to the other place.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We're going to pay Reggie Miller to market our breakfast sandwiches so that you only get a breakfast sandwich. We're going to pay Reggie instead of our employees.
So one of the things I've recommended to some of the customers is they execute sign-on bonuses that are a percentage of how long the vacancy has been open. So when a job is budgeted for 12 months, but it's vacant for 60 days, there's 2 months of wages sitting around. And so companies can start really kind of saying, this is what we can offer you when you walk in the door, because they've actually already budgeted it. And so as we see customers doing that, what they're seeing is they're attracting talent who are like, hey, I don't have to leave something on the table. I'm getting something right away. It doesn't work for every job, but it's like you look at like healthcare or you look at retail and you say the job's been open for a month. Oh, by the way, you're burning overtime to other associates. You actually have a bunch of money sitting around. Use it.
Andrew makes my brain hurt.
I talked to a company a couple of weeks ago, and they spent $23 million so far this year on just sign-on bonuses. I mean, how is that sustainable? Paying more is the way to do it, but at like what point is that just not going to be an option?
Well, you got to make more than you spend, or it doesn't. So I'm assuming. I mean, hospitals. If you don't have nurses, you're out of business.
Right.
So at some point, like. If I don't have a server at my restaurant, I mean, how many times you gone into a restaurant and there's open tables and they're like, it's an hour wait or 2 hour wait. Like, really? There's 3 tables right there. Well,
now it's
I was at LaGuardia Airport last month. I went to Charleston for a wedding, and the food court was open, and there was one guy basically cooking food for everybody, and there must have been 100 people in line. I waited like an hour to get my food. That's how That's how
well, and some of these talent shortages. I mean, the talent is specialized and it's expensive. I mean, the radiology technicians, physical therapists are 2 great examples. We've had talent shortages for years, and we still haven't figured out how to get people in. Meanwhile, there are hospitals
we're moving from robots are going to take all the jobs to if we don't have the robots, we're not going to get served anytime soon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a crazy world, man. It's fun to talk about.
I still want a robot with conversational AI that texts me regularly. Can we do that in HR tech?
Well, hold on, because that gets into my next topic, which is future HR tech. I was
We're
going to
at
ask
10
you
guys.
for a prediction on this. So, what should exist that doesn't? But so here's my idea, Andrew, around that. Do you get a couple years ago, Google came out with that automated voice assistant, and like it called up it made an appointment for somebody at like a hair salon. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, someone's got to make a recruiting version of this. Why can't there be a virtual recruiter that just makes calls and tries to get people on the phone to fill some of these jobs? I mean, someone's going to make that one day.
Yeah,
and that's my pick for.
Is Google still doing that shit?
They should be. I mean,
it was like their voice thing, right? Where you're like, "Hey, Google, set me an appointment for hair or whatever on Friday,"
right?
And it would call.
It was talking to an actual human on the other end. So a recruiter could do that just to set up an interview with somebody. Hey, are you looking for work? Yes. Okay. Well, press here to press 2 to schedule an interview.
Yeah, that kind of fell off with Google Glass, didn't it?
Yes.
Is Google still doing that?
I would love to see that come to the market one day.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, VR's coming, baby. You heard about Zuck's metaverse office.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh,
a demo of it.
Just another big facility.
Prefer that over a Zoom call like this? Anybody? Who wants to put
VR?
a pound, like 5 pound headset on?
I would want to do it every day, but like, once a week maybe.
Candidate ID uses a very cool, I don't know what it is. Have you had like meetings with Adam or the team there where it's like, it feels like a virtual environment where there's like a virtual office and you kind of can walk around. It's a cool, I don't know, I forget what it's called, but it's a very cool experience. It's very different than Zoom.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
I've talked to him, but it was Zoom, and it was sort of like he had the smoking jacket on with like the old Scottish bookcase behind him. Yeah, it was very.
That sounds like an uploadable background.
Sean Connery was a butler was making drinks in the back. I want to party with Adam.
Oh, Jerry has a good idea. Alexa could listen to someone bitching about their job and ask if they would like help getting a new one.
Oh, he thinks that's not happening now.
Yeah.
So I actually thought about this one, and so I have one.
All right, let's go.
I want the automated training app. I want when a candidate comes in or a new employee comes in, that the magic happens and says, we've looked at your resume, we've looked at your background. Here are the pathways that you can have internally. We're going to automatically schedule your training to develop you. We're going to have a mentor for you. We're going to put you on the plan, and then we're going to tell you probably when you're going to get promoted. So when you show up, we have your training and development set up to accelerate you, and here's what it looks like. I want that. I want the data to push into that widget that says, I know what you've done, and I know what we do. So let's train you so you can help us even more. That's my magic app. I'd love to see that. We always do this We always do this. Here's a resume. Here's the job description. I hope it works out. All that matching stuff. Cool. I get it. Can we figure out how to match people up to get their skills better, to make our businesses better? I want that tool.
That is an issue. It's with the skills, with the matching stuff. Like when are we going to get beyond job descriptions and resumes, like you said there, Andrew? I mean, you think we ever will?
There will always be a help wanted sign somewhere.
Yeah, and when private equity
like 100 years from now, is the resume still going to be a thing?
Yeah.
I mean, it's been so long that we've been saying maybe not, and it still is the go-to.
Yeah. Who on this call has gotten a resume printed on Kinko's? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Mine's pink and scented. So.
That good stock paper, right?
That's called cutting through the clutter, my friend.
That's right. That's right. You got to get on top.
Can we agree? TikTok for jobs is a bad idea.
I thought it was a joke.
Who wants to fight for that? Anybody?
I do.
I thought that was an SNL clip.
You're in.
I thought it was a joke.
All right,
I
Chris,
wrote about
let's hear
this.
it.
Look, TikTok for jobs is not about. People are overthinking it, right? It's a sourcing tool. That's all it is. It's leads for employers.
They've got a website. They're committed.
First of all,
to this.
okay, hold on,
Don't tell me it's a sourcing tool.
First of all, what they did was an experiment, and I give them a lot of credit for doing that. Number one, if you go on the site now,
experiment's still going. By the way,
no, it stopped. If you go on the site now, it says thank you for taking part in our.
Oh, really?
Experiment.
Well,
yes.
All right, then it sucks. I'm right.
No, they were trying it out. Right,
Okay,
give them a
all
chance here.
Okay.
Give them a chance. Like to me, if I'm an employer like Chipotle, who's one of their, I think, testers, why wouldn't I use that to find people who want to work for me? If people are out there saying I want to work for you and doing it through a video resume, I'll look at that as an employer, especially if I'm a retailer like Chipotle or food service who's desperately looking for people to fill these jobs. Why wouldn't you do that? To me, it's a no-brainer.
So your argument is that the super sourcers, let's call it 5% of the sourcing community, is going to leverage TikTok like they leverage
Periscope?
Everything.
Yeah, exactly. So difference in sourcing on Twitter.
But that's not a success.
Doesn't it take so long
that's
to
not
do?
a that's they. I mean, okay, so Pinterest is a home run. Like, what do you? I mean,
no,
sources go everywhere.
There's no personal.
Now, if you're gonna talk to me, I mean, like, I don't even like. One of the big fails of social media is most companies' failure to use it as a branding tool.
Yes,
it is a gold mine to build an image, promote your culture. And again, it's probably single digits percentage of companies that do it. And that's unfortunate. And TikTok will be just like the rest. There'll be Chipotle and Taco Bell and all the names that you know that leverage it and do it right and get applicants and all that good stuff. But for most companies,
if TikTok built a way to put those applicants into their systems, to me that should work, right? And
but what about if we go back to diversity? Like, what if we go back to that conversation? Like, where all these sourcing solutions are trying to get after reducing bias and diversity and inclusion. Now you're looking at people dancing around and making judgments based on your bias.
Yeah, exactly right. The bias itself, the concept that someone's going to take all this time to create a video, and then a human is going to measure whether or not they like it based on the video, not based on competencies, not based on skills. Not based on anything else. It is a enterprise class action waiting to happen. So I get that Chipotle, and by the way, I never say that right, but
as long as you eat it right, it's okay.
Yeah. I never go there. But I like that there was the effort here. But Joel, to your point, we use social media. All I end up seeing in this data is we have more candidates who get seen by hiring managers over the last several years than ever. So now we just we could do more and more sourcing, more and more stuff. So now managers are they're now interviewing 5 people, 6 people, 8 people. I'm like, when do we stop and say, I don't need more sourcing. I don't need more of this. I need just you to make a decision. Just make a decision with the 4 people I gave you, not the 8, the 4. And when we keep on putting on more platforms and more methods, it's just more waste in the system.
Well, if you're McDonald's,
you're not going to get everybody hired.
You don't have 4, Andrew. You have 0 applicants, right? So
that's the argument.
That's my point, right? So it's another way for them to get their message out there about jobs. How they do it, we can argue about that. But I think
if you have 0, then no. By the way, hire. So. You got companies who are like, we don't have enough candidates. I'm like, what are we talking about right now? You're averaging 8 to 12 candidates for lightly skilled work per requisition in every single state. Well, we want to see more applicants. I'm like, no, you don't. Make a decision. Hire the first person. Now, there's that group. Then there is a group that says, we've only got 1 or 2 applicants and the job's been open 30 days. Okay. That's a different problem.
That's how Amazon does it, right? Don't they just basically push you right through the system? They get you to an interview, and then they basically tell you yes or no.
That's right. I mean, but there are spots throughout. By the way, this is so different in Latin America than it is in, say, Europe. It's bizarre how it changes region to region. But there are spots where we're seeing 80%, 90% drop off in applicant rates per rec. I mean, it's real. Okay, but that's also a blog post headline. It's not everywhere. In some places, they're off 30, 40%, but they're still getting 25 applicants. And I'm like, well, only interview 2 and then make a choice. That's what we might have to do right now.
If you disrespect the blog in front of Chris, you take your life into your own hands. I just wanna say that.
I didn't say his blog. I was actually right at you.
Fine.
TikTok resumes.
Remember
guys.
Snaplications?
Yep. Yep. Snaplications.
I wanted to forget about that.
I'm gonna remind you of these comments in a few years, Chris. Don't you
All
worry.
right. I'm telling you. All right. Well, guys, it's 4:56, so I think we can wrap it up.
This was
Any
fun.
last
Yeah.
parting words before we close up shop?
I miss you guys.
Go Browns.
Too.
Yeah, that's my parting words. I miss this group. I miss our crew. But if we can do this, that works too.
Browns Super Bowl. You heard it here first.
Yeah. 1 out of 8 chance.
This is the year, baby.
1 out of 8.
Telling you, Chris. He knows it. That's why he's not saying shit.
Cleveland, Washington. Super Bowl.
Hey, that defense, man. And
Young, baby.
the magician, right? The beard.
Fitz Magic, yeah.
Fitz Magic,
Fitz
baby.
Magic.
He's gonna air it out. I'm excited for that too.
He's a gunslinger, that's for sure.
Terry, is that the wide receiver? Something Terry?
Terry
James
McLaurin,
Terry?
yeah, he's good.
Yeah, he's gonna have a hell of a year.
Yep. Got a good tight end, Logan Paulson, and we shall see.
Yeah. San Francisco Giants in 6.
San Francisco Giants.
The Giants came out of nowhere. I mean, who do they have in that
6.
team?
If Danny
They're more
Dimes,
no name than the Rays are.
they gave Danny Dimes some weapons. Like Saquon's healthy. The receiving core, they got a good defense, pretty good line.
He's
I mean,
like
they-
San Francisco Giants.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
I
we're talking baseball.
I was talking baseball.
I thought he
but
said.
whatever.
I thought he was predicting. Okay.
We should all join. Aren't you doing a fantasy football league with Chad Cheese?
Yep. If you want to play, I think it's poach.ai/fantasy-football.
Okay.
I'll
Put
put
that
a
in the chat.
link in the comments here. How about that?
There we go.
There you
Very
go.
cool.
There's your
Is there
marketing.
prize
kids.
money?
Should we do?
There's probably a belt, a chain, or a trophy involved, and we might get a sponsor throw in some whiskey or something.
Oh, that's cool.
That's cool. Well, it doesn't look like my.
Or if you're Chris, a nice Pinot Noir, I guess, or Pinot. We'll get Jerry to pick out a good bottle of
Jerry
wine.
can join.
Yeah, if Jerry plays and wins, we'll get some wine for Jerry.
There we go. Well, Chris, my wife and kid didn't show up. They said they were going to show up. I was all nervous about that audience, but we should say hello to Adeline anyway.
Hello, Addie. Well, the good
Hi,
news is
Addie.
you can watch the replay, Andrew. So come back to the link in about 5 minutes, and the replay should be there. So.
Oh, there she
they're
is.
there. They're
Sarah?
Oh, hello, Shara. All right, well, guys, Madeline, Andrew, Joel, thank you very much for joining the HR Pod Squad.
You bet.
It's good to
This
see you
was
guys,
fun.
and see you guys in Vegas.
See you
Thanks all.
soon.
Take care.
Peace out.
Bye.
Bye.